A few months ago, I had a fun idea. I asked you, the Mere Mortals community, to send me your woodworking ideas. Not just any ideas though, I wanted your worst ideas, the ones that made you laugh, the ones you sketched on a napkin and then immediately hid. I wanted the projects that you were too embarrassed to even start. My plan was simple. I would pick the absolute worst idea from the pile and try to turn it into something amazing, something that people would actually want to buy. The response was incredible. I got hundreds of emails filled with hilarious, strange, and downright confusing project ideas. It was a goldmine of bad design. Sorting through the submissions was a blast. There was a coffee table with way too many legs. There was a birdhouse shaped like a toaster. There was even a plan for a wooden tie, which just sounds uncomfortable. I read every single one. I was looking for a special kind of bad idea. Not just something silly, but something that had a tiny, hidden spark of a good idea inside it. It needed to be a real challenge. After a lot of searching, I found the perfect candidate. It came from a subscriber named Kevin. His email had a simple subject line, "My worst idea ever." He was not wrong. The idea was for something he called the lumberjack. It was a desk organizer, but it was unlike any desk organizer I had ever seen before. The drawing was rough. The concept was confusing. It looked like a pile of wood scraps glued together. It had slots for pens, a weird tray for paper clips, and a big, clunky block that was supposed to hold a phone. My first reaction was to laugh. It was chunky. It was awkward. It seemed completely impractical. This was it. This was the one. I knew right away that the lumberjack was the winner of my worst idea challenge. I sent Kevin an email to let him know I had chosen his project. He was thrilled, and also a little embarrassed. He said he came up with it when he was just starting woodworking. He had a bunch of leftover wood and wanted to make something useful. The result was, well, the lumberjack. He gave me his full permission to make fun of it and, more importantly, to try and fix it. The challenge was officially on. Could I take this clumsy, awkward desk organizer and transform it into a sleek, desirable product? I couldn't wait to get into the shop and find out. This was going to be fun. So, let's talk about the original lumberjack. Kevin was kind enough to send me his original prototype along with the sketch, and when it arrived, I understood why he called it his worst idea. The first problem was the design. It was just a collection of blocks. There were no graceful lines, no sense of style. It looked like a random pile of 2x4 cutoffs from a construction site. The proportions were all wrong. A huge, thick base supported a few tiny, unhelpful compartments. It was heavy, bulky, and it would take up way too much space on a desk for what it actually did. It was not a pretty thing to look at. Next up is usability. A desk organizer should make your life easier. It should help you keep your things tidy. The lumberjack did the opposite. The pen slots were drilled too deep, so your pens would disappear inside. The little tray for small items was so shallow that paper clips would slide right off. And the phone holder? It was just a straight, vertical slot cut into a block of wood. It held the phone at a 90-degree angle, making it impossible to see the screen. It failed at its most basic job. It wasn't organizing anything. It was just creating a new, wooden problem on your desk. Then, there's the perceived value. When you look at a product, you instantly get a feeling about its quality and worth. The lumberjack felt cheap. It was made from construction-grade pine, full of knots and rough spots. The pieces were just butt-jointed and glued together, and you could see the dried glue squeeze out in the corners. There was no finish on it, so the wood was pale and blotchy. If you saw this at a craft fair, you would probably walk right past it. It didn't look like something someone made with care. It looked like a first-time project that didn't quite work out, which is exactly what it was. So, to sum it up, the design was clunky, the usability was terrible, and the value was basically zero. It was the perfect starting point for this challenge. It had problems in every single area. On the surface, it seemed like a completely hopeless project. You might be thinking, Steve, just throw it in the fire pit and start something else. But I saw something in it. Buried deep, deep under all those layers of bad choices, there was the core of a useful idea. A single, compact place to hold your essential desk items. The idea wasn't the problem. The execution was, and I love fixing bad execution. Before I could start building, I had to do some serious thinking. I put the original lumberjack on my workbench and just stared at it. It's easy to call something bad, but to make it better, you need to understand why it's bad. So I broke it down into three main problem areas. The first was its shape and form. The blocky, square design was its biggest visual flaw. It had no personality. It was just a collection of rectangles. Good design often uses interesting angles, curves, and lines to draw your eye. The lumberjack was a visual dead end. It needed a complete makeover from the ground up. The second problem area was its function, or lack thereof. The original design tried to do a few things, but it did all of them poorly. The pen holder was too deep. The phone stand was useless. The tray was too small. It was a classic case of trying to do too much with too little thought. For the new version, I needed to re-evaluate every single feature. What does a modern desk organizer really need? It needs to hold a phone at a useful angle. It needs to store a few pens or a stylus. And it needs a spot for small things like earbuds, keys, or flash drives. Every feature had to earn its place. The third problem was the overall feeling of quality. This comes down to materials and craftsmanship. The original was made from cheap pine with visible glue marks. It felt like a rough draft. To turn this into a premium product, I needed to upgrade everything. This meant choosing a better material than plain old pine. It also meant paying close attention to the little details. Things like smoothly sanded edges, clean joints, and a beautiful finish can completely change how a project is perceived. These small touches add up to create a sense of value and care. They make an object feel special. So that was my plan of attack. I had 3 clear goals. First, I would completely redesign the shape to be more modern and visually appealing. I would create something sleek and stylish. Second, I would rethink all the functions to make them genuinely useful for a modern workspace. No more useless slots or trays. Third, I would elevate the entire piece by using high-quality materials and focusing on the small details of craftsmanship. By fixing these 3 areas, I was confident I could transform this bad idea into something truly great. It was time to put away the old one and start sketching out the new one. With my goals in mind, I grabbed a pencil and my sketchbook. The first thing to go was the blocky shape. I started sketching out a single solid piece of wood instead of multiple blocks glued together. This would immediately make it look more unified and elegant. I replaced the harsh square corners with gentle curves and sweeping lines. I wanted it to have a sense of flow. I angled the top surface slightly, which not only looked more dynamic, but would also present the items to the user in a more accessible way. The design was starting to feel less like a brick and more like a small sculpture for your desk. Next, I focused on the material. To give the organizer a premium feel, I decided to use walnut. Walnut is a beautiful hardwood. It has a rich dark color and a lovely grain pattern. It's also a joy to work with. It's strong, stable, and sands to a silky smooth finish. Using a solid piece of walnut instead of cheap pine would instantly increase the perceived value of the organizer. It would feel heavy and substantial in your hands. This simple change in material was one of the most important decisions in transforming the project from a bad idea into a desirable object. It's a perfect example of how material choice matters. Then came the build process. I took a beautiful piece of thick walnut and started cutting it to my new design. I used my bandsaw to carefully cut the outside curves, creating that flowing shape I had sketched. Then, I used a special drill bit called a Forstner bit to create the round pockets for pens and other items. For the phone slot, I used a table saw to cut a groove at a carefully chosen angle, about 15 degrees. This would hold the phone in a way that makes the screen easy to see. Throughout the process, I was constantly refining. I would sand a curve, check how it felt, and sand it a little more until it was perfect. The small details are what separate a good project from a great one. After all the main shapes were cut, I spent a lot of time on the finishing touches. I used a roundover bit in my router to soften all the sharp edges. This not only looks good, but it makes the organizer feel wonderful to touch. You want people to pick it up and handle it. Then came the sanding. I sanded the entire piece with progressively finer grits of sandpaper, going all the way up to 220 grit. This made the surface of the walnut feel as smooth as glass. Finally, I applied a few coats of a simple oil and wax finish to protect the wood and really make the dark, rich grain pop. After the final coat of finish had dried, the moment of truth was here. I placed the newly redesigned organizer on my workbench, right next to Kevin's original lumberjack. The difference was staggering. It was hard to believe they were both born from the same basic idea. The original looked even more clunky and awkward next to the sleek, sophisticated new version. The rough pine and visible glue of the old one stood in stark contrast to the smooth, dark walnut and clean lines of the new one. It was a true, ugly duckling story, brought to life in wood. Let's look at the comparison side by side. The original was a collection of separate, poorly joined blocks. The new version is carved from a single, solid piece of hardwood, giving it a seamless and unified look. The original had sharp corners and straight lines. The new one has gentle curves and soft edges that invite you to touch it. The original used cheap, pale pine. The new one uses rich, dark walnut that communicates quality and elegance. Even the name lumberjack didn't fit anymore. This new piece was too refined. I decided to call it the Organizer. Simple and to the point. The functional improvements were just as dramatic. I grabbed my phone and placed it in the slot. It sat at a perfect viewing angle, stable and secure. My pens fit nicely into the round pockets without disappearing. There was also a wider, curved dish carved into the wood that was perfect for holding my wireless earbuds, some loose change, or the keys to my shop. Every single feature now had a clear purpose, and it all worked flawlessly. It was no longer a frustrating object, it was a genuinely helpful tool that also happened to look beautiful on a desk. This transformation really highlights a key lesson in woodworking and design. It's not just about what you make, it's about how you make it. By simplifying the form, upgrading the materials, and obsessing over the small details, I was able to completely change the character of the project. The core idea, a block of wood to hold your desk stuff, was the same, but the execution made all the difference. It went from something you would hide in a drawer to something you would be proud to display in the center of your desk. The transformation was complete, the lumberjack was dead, and the Organizer was born, but the final test was yet to come. Would anyone else see the value in it? Would people actually want to buy it? To find out, I took some nice photos of the finished piece and listed it on my website. I told the whole story in the description, from Kevin's original worst idea email to the entire redesign process. I was honest about its humble beginnings. I set a price that I felt reflected the quality of the material and the time I put into making it. Then, I held my breath and clicked publish. The response was immediate and overwhelmingly positive. People loved the story. They loved the transformation. The comments section on the video I made about the project was full of people saying how inspired they were. Many people said it gave them the confidence to look at their own failed projects in a new light. But the most exciting part was the emails I started getting. People weren't just saying they liked it. They were asking, can I buy one? The first one sold in less than an hour. Then another one sold, and another. It was incredible. Before I knew it, I had a backorder list. This bad idea from a subscriber had turned into one of the most popular items I've ever made. I had to create a set of templates and jigs just to keep up with the demand. I even sent the very first one I sold to Kevin, the original creator of the lumberjack, as a thank you. He was blown away and so proud that his worst idea had become such a success. It went from a source of embarrassment to a source of pride. That, for me, was the best part of the whole experience. This whole journey taught me a powerful lesson, one that I think is important for all creators. There are no truly bad ideas. There are only ideas that are waiting for the right execution. An idea that seems silly or impractical might just be a great idea in disguise. It might just be missing the right material, a better design, or a little more attention to detail. So don't be afraid of your bad ideas. Embrace them. Play with them. See if you can find that hidden spark of genius. And on that note, I'm officially looking for my next challenge. Send me your worst ideas. Let's see what we can create together.